Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. I am super excited to be chatting with my friend, Dr. Rachel Sarah Brown, who is now an ex-carnivore. We have been chatting a lot lately, going back and forth about all the crazy stuff we are running into, all of the benefits of reintroducing carbs. And so I thought it would be so wonderful to share your experience as well with my audience. So thank you so much, Dr. Rachel, for joining us today. Can you share a little bit about your background, your experience, and why you chose to reintroduce carbohydrates and become an
Yeah, whisper it.
ex-carnivore?
Yeah, thank you for having me. We've been messaging back and forth so much, haven't we? Like, almost use our messages as a reference points. Yeah, I'm a traditionally trained doctor in the mental health field, but then I'm also functional medicine trained and quantum biology. And anyway, so I straddle two different ways of looking at health, maybe three, in fact, because quantum's a bit different to functional. But I've been similar to you in the low carb space for about 20 years, I would say, but properly full on ketogenic for 10. Um,
Yeah,
and
similar
then,
to me. Actually, I would
yeah,
say the same with me because I really started paleo before keto and carnivore. So for me, it was a keto
hmm
carnivore for 10 years, and before that, paleo, which is relatively
okay.
low carb.
Yeah,
That's a
yeah.
good point.
Yeah, because I did primal for a long time, so it was kind of lower carb but not properly ketogenic. But yeah, 10 years ketogenic, full on. I had no gaps. And then 6 years, the last 6 years were carnivore up until probably about 2 months ago. Definitely 2 months ago is when I really started putting carbs back into the mix. So
Mm-hmm.
that's just to give people the time scales.
Right. Okay. And the rewards happen very quickly on so many levels. So, and I know there was this period where we're a little bit worried, like, are we really doing this? When you've been so brainwashed and so deep into like carbs are the devil, it's a mind game when you first start reintroducing it, right? Now, thankfully, when we know the science, we can every time, like, I know this is what happened to me, right? If I was worried about something, I would do a deep dive and I would post videos on like the theory behind it and the science behind it, and that helped me a lot to keep going. And the beautiful thing is that the rewards happen so quickly that you really very quickly you start seeing your metabolism come back online, you start dropping body fat, and we have seen your transformation. I've shared it on my Instagram stories. So share with us a little bit how that went, and were there fears, concerns, and the rewards.
Okay, gosh, I always think where to start because there's been so many benefits. Um, I realized I really needed to reintroduce carbs when I did further training and was doing a deep dive into leptin. So I did some training with Sarah Kleiner, who's put out loads of stuff to do with that particular topic. But actually, in retrospect, I realized I think my I really tanked my thyroid function on long-term keto, and I know that because of menstrual irregularities that I just had the whole time. And initially, I started keto 10 years ago when my father was terminally ill with a neurodegenerative disorder. And so that's what really pushed me into taking my health seriously and thinking, no, I need to do this. And so that was around the time that the menstrual irregularities started, but I just assumed it was stress because of his illness and then subsequent death. And then I don't know how I didn't notice that for 10 years. Okay. But I kind of just ended up normalizing that and just thinking it must be me. I must just really have short cycles. Maybe I'm getting older, maybe I'm just somebody who has 24-day cycles, not 28 or longer. And anyway, that went on for many, many years. And when I educated myself on the topic of leptin, it suddenly clicked for me. And I also had some blood tests in terms of thyroid function that didn't look entirely optimal during my time on carnivore. But I'm not a big tester, so I'm not a big tracker or tester, so I can't even remember now exactly what my results were. But I know that my thyroid wasn't optimal. Let's just put it that way.
Right. And also what I'm seeing is that even if the thyroid labs are normal or even optimal, I mean, it's rare to find them like really optimal, but even if they're normal, you don't know if it's being converted
Mhm.
inside your
Yeah.
cells, right? Because you need carbs and
Hmm.
an insulin spike to activate
Yeah.
the iodinase, the
Yeah.
IO enzyme inside your cells to
Hmm.
convert T4 into the active form of thyroid hormone T3. So
Yeah.
your cells cannot activate thyroid, so you're still hypothyroid. And
Mhm.
I'm seeing it, and the only way I did this deep dive is because as you see the symptoms in the clients you're coaching, and it's like even though the labs seem normal, they're losing their hair. They have no
Hmm.
energy. They're losing their eyebrows, their eyelashes. It's like, how could this possibly be happening? Classic symptoms of hypothyroidism. And yeah, you wouldn't even know it. You really would not know
Hmm.
just from a lab test if you're hypothyroid or not, which I think is happening to the vast majority of carnivores, especially long term carnivores. Like, if you need to do
Hmm.
it for a short period of time, that's a different story.
Yeah.
I still use it as a tool for certain people for a short period of time. But it's most certainly not the optimal human diet. It is most certainly not what we want to put people on for
Hmm.
extended periods of time. And some
Hmm.
people, they can last a little longer. If they're young, if they're male, super
Hmm.
healthy,
Yeah.
they can last longer before they start to break down. I'm finding it's very difficult for postmenopausal women, middle-aged ladies
Hmm.
to last on it too long. They break down sooner. They're in a
Yeah.
constant stress state. We've been talking about this, you know how it goes. So
Well, yeah, that's something else that I came across because I did do some testing or like mineral testing that showed I was in sympathetic dominance. And so my nervous system was really stressed out. And I have quite a stressful life, but I didn't feel that stressed. And so the results really puzzled me. And then, like bit by bit over time, I pieced it together and realized actually this is all to do with cortisol and glucagon and other stress hormones really driving my metabolism that shouldn't really be the case for optimal
exactly,
health.
exactly. Okay, so you reintroduced carbs. What are
Mhm.
some of the rewards that you have? I know, I get the voice messages like,
Yeah, I
"You're
know.
not gonna believe this." I'm like, I know. So share what you can with our audience about some of the stuff you shared with me.
Yeah, sure. One of the first things that comes to mind is just like I wanted to work out again. So I've always been interested in fitness, but I think just over time, I just found myself doing less and less and just not feeling motivated or wanting to work out. And then after I introduced like just a small amount of carbs, it was probably only about 50 to 100 grams per day. I remember leaving you a voice note or another message and saying, wow, I've just gone back to do a workout I haven't done for a while, and I've done way more reps than I've ever done before. It was so much easier. I just felt like picking up weights and working out and running again, just all of it really. So that's been really eye-opening for me.
Yeah. I did not realize how much my performance was suffering, right? Because
Mm,
I'm always like this type A, and like pushing and and I could still get benefit, but the moment you reintroduce carbs, you notice how much your training was lacking and
mhm.
how much slower you were recovering.
Yeah.
And it doesn't hit you with full force until you start seeing amazing results with your body, and you shared the Instagram story of how much leaner you got. It's amazing, right? And so quickly. I mean, 2 months is
Mhm.
a really short period of time for such a drastic difference.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Oh yeah, yeah. And again, I don't weigh myself or track macros or anything, but I could just feel myself. I was just starting to lose a bit of weight that had crept on in the last probably around 6 months or so of carnivore, which I think is interesting because I think it possibly mirrors some other females' experiences as well.
right.
And from my personal perspective, I know that I was low leptin, so I think that has a lot to do with it because it ties in with thyroid hormone. But I know other coaches who've worked with long-term keto carnivore people who've all run into difficulties because of having leptin levels that were far too low for them. And
Right.
leptin should be a safety signal to the body. And if it goes too low, then that's also when more of your stress hormones can kick in. And and then your body just can't read its energy balance properly. So that's why it seems to be particularly females can then start to run into difficulties with gaining some weight.
Yeah. I've also started truly realizing the impact of the eating disorders that strict carnivore and
Mm.
long-term keto and carnivore diets lead to. I thought it was just okay, people like are binging more so now, and if they do veer off the carnivore diet, for example, now it's like all bets are off, and because I can never have this food again because this is not supposed to be, this is not like this is not food for humans, or they look at it as a terrible thing they're doing, and so the
Mm.
binges become out of control. They can really develop cravings now for certain foods when they never had them before. I used to think that that was happening mainly to most people. And now I'm realizing after working with some clients and starting to pay attention to that, it's also anorexia. It's triggering anorexia in people
Wow.
because your dopamine flatlines. You need carbs and an insulin spike to increase dopamine and serotonin production in the brain, acetylcholine, I mean, all this stuff, but especially dopamine when we're talking about addictive behaviors or eating disorders. It's triggering anorexia because for some people, what they start to derive their dopamine hits from is from the feeling of controlling their diet and restricting. And
Mhm.
now I'm trying to reintroduce carbs, and it's like, if I do eat something, it's like I miss that dopamine hit, and so then the rest of the day I'm not as energetic, or and so it takes a few weeks before we can get that dopamine. I like to get it obviously from running and working out.
Mhm.
There are different ways we can raise our baseline dopamine. But
Yeah.
if you start working out, you start building back the body's and the brain's ability to create dopamine and restore dopamine D2 receptors. And now we no longer need the restriction to get that dopamine hit. And
Mhm.
so, yeah, we've been able to relatively quickly, like in a month, reverse anorexia from
Wow.
that was triggered from doing a carnivore diet.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would believe that.
Right? And you
That's
see it in
pretty horrific
influencers.
when you think about it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I never thought about it before because I'm most of the time I'm helping people lose weight, and
Hmm.
cravings and binge eating and things like that. And it's like,
Hmm.
oh wow, actually anorexia is a real problem.
Hmm.
How many carnivore influencers, we're not gonna name names, how many carnivore influencers in keto and carnivore look anorexic? And it's
Mm.
and the longer they're on it, I think they're going into a very dangerous territory.
Hmm. Well, yeah, I don't know. I know we've got a similar history, don't we, in terms of food addiction type issues at a much younger age. Although even my perspective on that has changed a lot just in the last couple
I
of
know.
months. We haven't had a chance to really chat about that so much, but I really wonder now if I actually did have a sugar addiction when I was younger, or whether I'd just been restricting myself so much that my body was just naturally energy deficient and craving more input. So with carbs being a safety signal for the body, like my whole perspective on all of this has done a rapid shift in the last 2 months. So
That is so hilarious. I went on the I Quit Sugar Summit. Thank you, Mike Collins. He invited me and Zane. We did a panel together.
mhm.
And basically at the end, I'm like, yeah, I don't even believe sugar addiction is a thing
Oh,
anymore.
okay.
And
Okay.
he's like,
Oh,
oh my
wow.
God. But he was like, yeah, all the everything we talked about, he's like, you make a good point. You make a good point. It's like, yeah, because um these things you don't realize them until you've done carnivore for an extended period of time, until you really start to notice the stress state and how that's impacting your hormones, how that's impacting your energy, how that's impacting your muscle. Muscle is the longevity organ, right? I mean,
Mhm.
the
Yeah.
person who has the most muscle is going to live the longest, going to be the healthiest. Their hormones are going to be the healthiest. Their gut health is going to be the healthiest.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah, there's one moment that sticks in my mind actually when I messaged you at the start and I said, yeah, in the beginning I was just doing so what I my theory is that local seasonal food, natural food is absolutely the optimal. However, because of this history of carb addiction, I also thought to I came out of carnivore and I was thinking, actually, I'm quite concerned I'm not getting enough carbohydrate now to get my thyroid functioning online again. And so I thought I'm going to try out some more drug foods, as you would have called them,
Right.
and yeah, like had some chocolate, just like not super dark chocolate you'd be doing on keto, but just regular, 50 grams of carbs per 100 or whatever it may have been. And I remember messaging you and just saying, I don't have any carb addiction symptoms. Like, I don't have any compulsion around this. I don't have cravings. I don't have any preoccupation anymore with it. I feel completely in control. And actually, it's incredibly freeing to get to that place when you'd maybe well, I did spend many years, like in my teens and 20s, really obsessing about all of those foods and feeling out of control around them. And what I think is also ironic is the number of influencers putting videos out there about people who have quit carnivore. And when you read through the comments, lots of people are just justifying themselves by saying these are just carb addicts who are just eating carbohydrates again. And actually, I know we've both been through a similar experience. And I know myself, I don't have any compulsive behaviors around carbohydrates anymore. And
Likewise.
that is also was what made me really question about a history of sugar addiction. And I remember messaging you saying I must have raised my baseline dopamine because I don't have any issues now with these foods. So yeah.
Exactly, yeah, because carbs will raise your dopamine for 2 hours compared to keto or a carnivore food, which literally flatlines your dopamine is flatlined the whole day. Same thing with serotonin and baseline serotonin. Whereas when you are eating carbs, you actually have a high peak. Now, that's regular carbs. Now, if you add sugar, like we've been also adding, like the chocolate, it increases it even higher for also 2 hours. And then, you have another meal and then it stays elevated. And I think that played a huge part. First of all, when we introduced a lot of carbs in the agricultural revolution, I think our species developed and evolved and a better functioning brain. Hence, the agricultural revolution and civilization was established. And I think another similar thing occurred when we started introducing more sugars into our diet in the 1800s and the early 1900s. And that could have been what spurred the industrial revolution because now brains have evolved to an even higher, faster, a more alert level. And so my theory. And everybody was healthy, everybody was lean. There was no obesity, there were no metabolic health problems, even when everybody was having lots of orange juice and pies after every meal and lots of sugars. It's not the sugar, right? It's
Yeah.
it's other things that we keep talking about and we will continue to talk about because people need to be educated so that they don't get sucked into what happened to us and wasted so many years of our lives destroying our metabolism and our health in the process. And literally, this is literally giving people eating disorders. And it's so funny when people it's like, oh, those are just carb or sugar. It's like, yeah, it's like you're saying you're an oxygen addict. It's
Yeah.
like, no, it's a requirement. I no longer look at humans as like just this one species. I think we evolved at different timelines. Those are major shifts that we did to our diet that led to major evolution and progress in our ability to function and achieve even greater things.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's interesting about the whole dopamine piece because my mind automatically went to depression and how that's a low dopamine state. And I've been heavily involved in metabolic psychiatry in the UK. So, like treating people using predominantly ketogenic diets to improve their mental health. And I've seen some really good results. However, knowing what I know now, there's clear research out there showing that low leptin increases the risk of depression and it also can increase the risk of psychosis and other major mental health disorders as well. So I really question how long people should be remaining within ketosis for and actually how healthy that is. And I think, yes, it can definitely be helpful for some people, life-saving. I know some people would say in the short to medium term, but actually just thinking about thyroid and all of your hormonal signaling, then that also is a piece of the puzzle that needs to be thought about.
I love that so much. Yeah, we definitely need to hear more about the other side of the coin, right? Especially for
Mhm.
mental health, right?
Yeah.
I think improving insulin sensitivity in the short term can happen very quickly when you eliminate the carbs and you enter a state of ketosis. If somebody has type 2 diabetes, I think it's a fantastic idea to do
Hmm.
keto for a while to reverse it, right?
Yeah.
And the same thing happens at the level of the brain, right? Insulin resistance can also trigger anxiety, schizophrenia, all kinds of mental health
Hmm.
conditions. So we can do it in this way, but also a lot of people can reverse insulin resistance just by lifting weights and adding
Yeah.
muscle and, choosing better types of carbohydrates to begin with. It's like carbs are such a powerful fuel for the brain and the body. And because it is powerful, it's like fire, right? You have to learn how to control it, because like fire can burn you if you don't know how to use it,
Mhm.
but it can also be something that is going to completely transform your quality of life. So when something is so powerful, you really need to learn how to control it, how to use it, and how to leverage it so that you only get the benefits from it. I think the same thing is happening with carbohydrates.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would agree. I would agree. I think the other thing that I need to get across is just in terms of gut health, because that is something I have tested more on myself. And yeah, I didn't do well on carnivore from a gut health perspective. So I know I've shared some of my results with you already privately. But I had really elevated calprotectin levels, so levels of inflammation in the gut. There were other inflammatory markers there showing that I wasn't eliminating, environmental toxins adequately, probably had estrogen recirculating. So, you can get more toxic types of estrogen for females. And
Yes.
the gut is a detox organ. So I've ended up with mast cell activation syndrome, which I know is from mycotoxins, or at least partially from mycotoxins, so mold toxins. And that's because my short chain fatty acid producing microbes in the gut were severely depleted on carnivore. And I've done pre and post testing, and I know that I have been able to recover them quite significantly just within a month of reintroducing fruits and vegetables again.
Wow.
But I'm going to keep testing because they're not exactly where I want them to be. So that's been a big learning point for me as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah, I'm working with somebody who did lion diet for Crohn's disease, that he's had for a long period of time, and the lion diet did not, just beef, salt, and water, right? You would think, oh, then all of the gut issues are going to completely go away, and it didn't. It makes
Mm.
things worse the longer you stay on that, because you're not
Yeah.
treating the root cause. This is why it's like you need nutrition education. You need somebody who is, first of all, is well educated in that aspect and also continues to learn and keeps an open mind to treat the
Mm.
root cause. But this is, I think, why the carnivore diet message goes so viral. It's so simple. It's like just eat meat, right? You don't need to understand nutrition. You need to understand gut physiology and gastroenterology. You don't need to understand hormones. You don't need to do all this work. And so folks gravitate towards that as an easy fix, but of course, it
Mhm.
always, almost always ends up backfiring. And this is when they actually have to start looking into real health professionals who can offer educated support, who are actually competent, as opposed to just having the one prescription for everybody under the sun.
Well, yeah. Well, that's it, because there's the whole gut thyroid axis. So there's the gut brain axis, there's gut muscle, gut thyroid. But if you've severely depleted your short chain fatty acid producing microbes that produce butyrate as well as some other short chain fatty acids, then that also impacts on thyroid signaling. It
Yes.
also impacts on the enzyme that converts T4 to active T3. And then you just end up in a vicious cycle, a vicious loop. And so it's no wonder that there are some people like with inflammatory bowel disease who've tried carnivore where it hasn't necessarily fixed them, because if they have severely depleted their short chain fatty acid producing microbes that love fiber and need fiber to be optimal, and polyphenols and some other
Blasphemy.
glyconutrients. What's that? Sorry.
I
Blasphemy.
said blasphemy.
Okay, I wondered if you said that. Um, It's hard though, isn't it? Because some people seem to do really well on carnivore, and then there are other people who are running into major difficulties
Yeah,
subsequently. I think I don't know. I think we're all quite individual in terms of our microbiome and what our starting point is when you start a diet like that. I
yeah.
think that's what can make a difference.
Yeah, I love so much that you mentioned that because, butyrate is not the same thing as beta hydroxybutyrate, the ketone
Mm,
body that you're running on. You're doing
yeah.
keto or carnivore. I hope you're enjoying this podcast. If you need help and support learning how to bring your metabolism and your thyroid function back to life, if you need help understanding how to leverage the power of carbohydrates to actually achieve far higher levels of health and performance that keto and carnivore diets could never even dream of achieving, even at their highest levels, then feel free to check out my coaching packages at drsarahzaldivar.com/coaching. And if you use code New Year, you can get 50% off all my coaching packages within the next 48 hours. Make sure you look into the ones that have unlimited email support, like the Fit Optimized package and the premium packages. Those, especially the Fit Optimized package, I think might be my most popular one because it goes over for 3 months. So I see you weekly for 30 minutes and you have unlimited email support and you have unlimited meal plan adjustments and exercise plan adjustments and supplement recommendations, everything that can fit your budget if you need it or if you are willing to do that. So check them all out. And also make sure you're signed up to my newsletter at drsarahzaldivar.com/newsletter so you stay up to date on all of my research and all of the new things that we are discovering and all of the cutting edge tools at our disposal to help you not only be the healthiest you've ever been, but also the best performing you've ever been. More energy, more income, more productivity, leaner body, more muscle mass, the organ of longevity. I hope you start thinking more about building and getting stronger as opposed to restricting and getting weaker and weaker over time. Now, back to the podcast. They were told, and a lot of the people in the keto and the carnivore community just use that as a reasoning why we don't need fiber. It's like, hey, we're running on, beta hydroxybutyrate, and that's going to feed the gut cells. Actually, no,
No, I know. I
no.
really wish I hadn't listened to any of that. Big mistake.
I know.
Mhm.
We've been commiserating for a
Yeah, we
while. It's
have.
like, wow, all the lost time. Something that hit me, it was so true. You were telling me about like the reverse dieting. It's like once you really are awake and you realize what you've actually done to the metabolism, to your thyroid, you
Mhm.
realize like, wow, where I could have been, and now I have to like catch up on all of
Mhm.
these years where I could have had been continuously speeding up my metabolism and getting healthier and healthier and it's yeah the reverse dieting thing that you mentioned. I was like it really hit me hard. I was like, oh yeah, don't remind me. I'm trying not to remember all the last time.
Yeah, I mean, do you know, it's partly, people are going to say I'm a carb addict for saying this, but actually it's partly the joy that I've had from introducing other foods
Yeah,
again. Like even that just in and of itself
yeah, but
has really made me
okay, one second. My hubby just okay. All right, we can keep going. It's okay.
okay. Yeah,
Yeah,
even yeah, just being able to enjoy food again has been such a major benefit. Never mind all the health benefits that I've had personally, but just that enjoyment factor. And I'm not saying using food as entertainment, but just fuel and nourishment for the body. And we need
yeah.
optimal thyroid functioning for our mitochondria to work properly. So that's a big part of the puzzle.
Let's talk about the mitochondria thing because
Mm,
that's a major thing, right? It's like keto increases mitochondria by 400%, and that's so powerful to prevent cancer, to be metabolically healthy, all that stuff. Okay, when you actually do the research, there's actually one study that was done on rats that showed a 400% increase. The other study that was done on humans only showed like a 50% increase in mitochondria. Fair,
okay.
you have an increase in mitochondria. It doesn't even come close to the amount of mitochondrial boost that you get from actually working out, especially
Oh yeah.
doing cardio. It not even close. Like literally in the first few weeks of doing some cardiovascular activity, you're already way above what keto and carnivore can give you. And that's you just starting. Now imagine if you keep going with it. Imagine where you're going to be after that.
Hmm.
It's such an unfair comparison that it is so incompetent to tell people that that should be something to shoot for, this 50% improvement in mitochondria just by being in a state of ketosis. It just makes zero sense.
Hmm. Yeah, I'm having to unlearn a lot of stuff that I thought I knew. Um, and it feels like I don't know, it just feels like I've been on this in this scene, maybe in a bit of an echo chamber for many years at this
Oh,
point in time. And it's not to say that I don't support doing a ketogenic diet. I just think there's so much nuance around optimizing gut health and thyroid function and stress hormones that you can't just say to 10 people to be ketogenic forever more and that's all you need to do, or do carnivore and that's it. That's all you need to do because it's nowhere near as simple as that.
exactly, 100%. So it seems like the longer we are working with this and the longer we're seeing clients and doing the research, every single argument supporting keto and carnivore you can achieve in a much better, much more powerful way while introducing carbohydrates. And especially when you add in the cardio workouts and
Mm,
strength training workouts, there is nothing. I cannot think of anything that you cannot achieve, even the gut health. And we talked about that, and you already have seen a vast
mhm.
improvement in your
Oh
gut
yeah.
health in just 1 month.
Yeah.
Um, Microbiome diversity, leaky gut, all those things can happen in a much higher, much more robust way when you're actually introducing carbs and working out. That's going to overshadow any dietary or supplement protocol that people are doing. And this is why what happens is that they do, let's say, carnivore, and all of the symptoms go away, gut symptoms, let's say they go away. Okay, great. You might see some ceiling of leaky gut. Fantastic. The longer you're on it, now you're in a chronically stressed state. What leads to leaky gut? Stress,
Mhm,
cortisol. If
mhm.
you're
Big
living in
time.
a, right?
Yeah.
And then you're aging. As you get
Mhm,
older and older, you also have leaky gut coming from the aging process. How are you going to outpace that? What
mhm,
tools do you have when you're doing carnivore? That's it. You're capped, and now you start going backwards, and now it's no longer enough.
mhm. Well,
So,
yeah, that's it. When I just announced a couple of things publicly saying I'm adding in fruits and vegetables again, and then there seemed to be this big backlash, nowhere near as much as with you, but I had at least two men tell me, "Oh, you mustn't have been eating enough fat," I literally just thought, I couldn't have been eating any more fat at this point in time. I've been doing
yeah,
it for years. I've been ketogenic for years. I kind of know what I need to do to be in ketosis,
right,
and
right, right.
there comes a point when it's not about the fat.
Well,
Mhm.
Dr. Rachel, you do realize you are a female, right? So if a male does not mansplain to you the basics of your body, how could you ever know what to do? I mean, come on.
Good point. Good
Oh
point.
man, yeah, let's not even go there. The
No, I
mansplaining and
know.
the misogyny in the carnivore community, and it's like anything that, oh, it's not working for me. Eat more fat. It's still not working for me. Stop eating salt. It's still not working. I mean,
Yeah.
just and the comments are there under every post. It's like,
Hmm.
are we
I
completely
know.
just gaslighting people? Are we just completely not even entertaining the thought that
Mhm.
maybe the messaging is wrong? Maybe the essential belief that carnivore is optimal is wrong?
Mhm. That's it. Yeah, I've had so many DMs to like some stories when I was talking about this of just people saying I had that exact experience. I felt so much better when I added carbohydrate back in. Or, like I can't even tell you how many messages I had of people just saying thank you for speaking about this because I just get kept being told I was doing it wrong. I should be adding
Yeah.
more fat, I should be doing it X, Y, or Z way, and I'd already done it all. I paid lots of money and it was just waste, like for a coach who just told me to be eating more or more fat and it didn't do me any good. And that really got to me because it makes me really angry when I see people, gaslighting going on, people not being listened to about their own genuine experience. So,
Yeah. And then just to pay money for a carnivore coach that's only gonna tell you just eat more fat, or just like they have no tools at their disposal. They
Mhm.
are incapable of being scientific. It's like there's this resistance against science. And it's like I just don't understand it.
Mm,
I don't understand why when now, because now we are at a point in time where enough people have done it for a long enough time. So now we have the data that we may not have had a few years ago. We're
mhm.
seeing the clients that's not working for. We're seeing what
Yeah.
happens when you stick to these diets for an extended period of time. So I just don't understand why there is this resistance to accepting data and adjusting quickly in
Mhm.
response to new data.
Yeah. I mean, it's tribalism at its best, I think. And I did not expect that when I decided to add a few fruit and veg back in again. And it's been eye-opening. But I just genuinely think people need to be their own N of one experiment. And if it works for them, fantastic. If it's not working, though, that's your body's intelligent. It's giving you signs that you need to readjust course, look down other avenues of inquiry, not just blindly accept somebody else's advice if they're not. I've also, if they're not believing you, because I've had people tell me that as well, that they were accused of lying when it wasn't working for them. So yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
That's
Anyway.
just cruel and awful. Yeah, no, the incompetence and it's just hilarious. And I really love Lane Norton, BioLane. He's
Yes.
hilarious and he does all of these videos. And it's like you can see how somebody who's like so scientific and understands the science and he has to answer questions about like the carnivore diet and he has to like go and watch these reels to debunk them and you can see his brain cells like exploding as he's like just trying to explain like basic nutritional concepts. It's so funny.
Hmm. Yeah, I think I've been seeing a few of those because your head's been bobbing up above the like button, and so I think that's pushing them into my algorithm. So anyway, yeah, I've seen some. They've been
I love that.
amusing.
Yeah, and I repost his stuff too, and I think that also like pushes
Ah,
into my
okay,
Instagram
yeah, that could be it.
audience. Yeah,
That
I
could
love
be
that.
it. Yeah,
So
yeah.
I am just so happy for us. Like 2025 has been so amazing.
Hmm.
We are doing infinitely better than like the whole decade or I guess 2 decades of low carb and then keto and carnivore dieting. And it's so important to talk about this because if people
Hmm.
like us are highly educated and in the field and we still were convinced by the ketogenic and the carnivore arguments.
Yeah.
And so, what does that say about all of the rest of the population? Not everybody has time to get a PhD in nutrition or like do research in this field.
Hmm.
So it's really important that we share our experience and keep talking about it, especially I think for a while now before we transition into like the recipes and stuff. I'm talking about myself because I want to do more recipes and stuff like that. But I think it's really important. There's a period of time where we really need to focus on helping people reintroduce carbs and helping people understand that there are very real risks of doing keto and carnivore diets. Not to mention the heart disease thing and the cortisol going up and everybody's being told like, oh, it's okay. Like, look at the Maasai, look at the Inuit. Those are carnivore tribes and they have no heart disease. Yeah, but they also have very low cholesterol. Like, literally, not only cholesterol levels within the ranges, on the lower end of the range in a lot of the studies.
Okay.
It's yeah. So it's like,
Interesting.
well, even the Maasai, even the Inuit, those are the like carnivore tribes. Maybe the reason they don't have heart disease is because also their cholesterol levels are low.
Mm.
So, what are they doing differently? And so, if you want to do, or you have to do, for whatever reason, you have to do, let's say, carnivore, then you also want to keep an eye on your labs and make sure that you're not entering into territory where this hasn't been ever shown to be safe before, where somebody is doing carnivore, high saturated fat, only animal foods, and high cholesterol labs. There has never been an instance where that was shown to be safe. It's only when cholesterol is low, with even though it's a carnivore diet, the cholesterol
Mm.
levels are low, that's when you don't see heart disease. So how can we achieve that if somebody is really just forced for whatever reason to stay strict carnivore? How can we achieve that? Could it be the high physical activity levels of those tribes? Could it be, there's just so many things, low environmental toxins,
Yeah, it could be just the amount of time they're spending in contact with nature, not modern living, in lots
yeah,
of indoor living,
yeah,
disconnected from nature, not enough infrared, UV
yes.
light, all of it.
Yes. And then there's this whole demonizing of supplementation. It's like these group of people, like highly influential carnivore influencers. They're telling people like they even supplements, you don't need to take supplements. It's like we're not outside being exposed to the sun 24/7. Like if you're living in an apartment, if you're living in a house and you're vitamin D deficient, like that, why would you not want to take vitamin D supplements to optimize your vitamin D levels? Why, we're not living the way our ancestors lived for a good reason.
Mhm.
We evolved, and so we need to learn to evolve. That's a central theme. It's Charles Darwin has like a famous quote, which is my favorite quote. It is not the fastest or the strongest of the species that survives. It is that is most adaptable to change.
Okay, interesting. Interesting. Yep. Do you know what cropped up for me when you were saying that was I was actually taking a supplement to try and improve my heart rate variability. Um, and
We talked
and
about
that's
that.
another big benefit I've had. So I remember messaging you and Zane Griggs as well saying, I can't believe it. Like within the first week of adding carbs back in, my heart rate variability has consistently been going up and up.
Let's tell people why this is so important and why that's an indication of when you have low heart rate variability, that means you're in a stress state and why
Yeah.
you want it to be elevated. So, heart rate variability is the difference in the time between your heartbeats. Now, most people would think like, oh, you would want perfect timing in between the heartbeats because that would be healthy. No, it's counterintuitive. Actually, what you want,
Mhm.
a healthy nervous system, a healthy
Yeah.
heartbeat rhythm would be changes, like lots of
Mhm.
differences between a heartbeat and another. So it could be like
Yeah.
a certain distance, a certain time, and then it's like a different time. It's like it changes a lot. And you want that. You want a lot of heart rate variability. That means you're well
Yeah.
recovered, you're not in a stress state, you're healthy, everything's going great. As you saw,
Yeah.
do
Yes.
it. Right. Yeah, go
Yeah,
ahead.
I was least expecting. Like I didn't even I knew that maybe sleep could improve because I've heard of a lot of people who have difficulty sleeping
Yeah.
when their thyroid's on the low side and their leptin's low and they've been too long sort of keto or carnivore. I was sleeping reasonably okay, but I track using an Aura ring. So I was looking on the app and then I just started seeing my heart rate variability going up and up and up. And I thought, oh, wow, okay, that's really interesting. Really
Wow.
interesting. But yeah, you want that rest and digest parasympathetic,
Yeah.
non-stressed out state for good
A-
health.
Athletes track that as a hawk, right?
Mhm.
They look at their heart rate variability to see if they're fully recovered from their previous workout, if they can hit it hard today or not. They wake up and they look, what's my heart rate variability today? Okay, if it's high, it's great. I'm fully recovered. Let's go. So imagine you have been doing keto and carnivore for so long, and your heart rate variability is dropping and dropping, meaning you're constantly in a more and more and more stressed state. And all
Mhm.
it took is, I think that was one of the very few things you reached out to me. I was like, you will not
Yeah.
believe this, how quickly my heart rate variability went up
I
since
think
we have reduced.
that was within the first week
Wow.
or 2 weeks, I think. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
really quickly. Yeah.
It's,
Yeah.
it's like, is there any more parameter that is telling us, listen, it's like glucagon goes up, cortisol goes up, heart rate variability tanks, like all those things,
Mhm.
like every single marker you can think of, insomnia for people, electrolyte imbalance, every single thing you can
Mhm.
think of that's indicating to us that we're constantly stressed out on long-term keto and carnivore. We
Yeah.
have all these data points. So we just listen to those, pay
Mhm.
attention, and don't start like it's like all of the things we know, all of the wealth of knowledge that humanity has accumulated, all the science, like, oh, this doesn't apply in a carnivore state. It's like, maybe carnivore doesn't apply. Maybe that's like the smarter answer here.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, as a minimum, what would I have done differently if I could go back? Well, I would have at least been doing more testing. So I would have done thyroid, leptin, and microbiome. Probably those are the big three that I would suggest to people if they think they're having difficulties or if they just want to be carnivore for a long time. I think it's really important what's going on in the gut. I think gut health as well as mitochondrial health is key to everything. So
Exactly.
yeah, people need to know what's happening there.
We could talk about so many more things. Is there anything that you think we should have touched upon? I know there we could do a round two, and go deeper into these topics. There's so much to say, but
Yeah.
for today, do you feel like there's an important
Yeah,
topic that we should?
the only other thing I messaged you about was that I can think of immediately was I was saying I was getting age reversal effects in my skin, so like less like wrinkles. And I
Yeah,
was like, this is crazy. Do you remember me messaging you that?
yeah, yeah. And
Yeah,
what
and
did I say? Do you remember what I said?
I remember partly what your experience had been, but I don't know if there's something else you're thinking of.
The fine lines reversal. At first,
Oh,
I was like, is this like an 80% reversal? And then, like, literally a week or two later, it's like, is this like a 90% reversal? I'm having
hmm
glass skin. There was a
hmm
time where I used retinol and it gave me that effect. And then I
hmm
discontinued it. Like, I just used it for a few weeks. I was like, oh, wow, it's amazing. Like, the glass skin. And then I just didn't continue doing that. I don't really use anything on my skin.
hmm
Nothing at all, except sunblock, if I'm going out to the beach or whatever.
Yeah.
And I now have this skin that's so tight. And at first, I was like, am I like seeing things? And now it's like, no, this has been consistent. And I think it's for me, it's the reintroduction of carbs and also the running that I
Okay.
really want to do. And I'm documenting everything and because I can barely believe it. And so I want to share that data and I want people to actually like study this and show how much I think the cardio is a huge lever because also when you reintroduce carbs, your cardio performance improves so much. You
hmm
recover faster, you can hit PRs faster. I think it's that combo that is leading to this glass skin effect, whereby week after week, I kept seeing improvement to the point where the last time I remember, not a few weeks ago, I was telling my hubby, he's like, you will not believe it. I think it's like this 90% reversal of fine lines. I'm 38 and I've never done Botox, never done any fillers or anything, nothing, literally nothing.
hmm
And at the end of the carnivore craziness, the carnivore coma that I was in, I was like, maybe it's time. I'm 38. Maybe it is time to start doing a little bit of baby Botox here because you're on
Oh, wow.
camera and all that kind of stuff. I was already starting to think about it. And thankfully, I made these changes before because, I don't know if you really want to, no judgment. And maybe in 5 or 10 years, I will do it if at some point, with the aging process, like for me, you will never see a wrinkle on my face.
Oh, like
Hopefully.
that.
Like I'm all about, I think when you wake up and you look at yourself and you refresh, it feels good, and you want to take
hmm
better care of yourself. It's like motivating to work out and eat right and do all those kinds of things. Like I'm not one of those people that are gonna age gracefully. It's like, where's the grace in deteriorating the human body? There's no grace in that. I'm sorry. Why? So hopefully, maybe I can just not ever have to use that. How exciting would that be? Let's see how long that lasts.
Oh, yeah.
But that was something that shocked me. I'm still
hmm
in shock with that, and I do think it's also the cardio. I think it's the reintroduction of carbs and also the cardio. But with you, just reintroducing
Yeah.
carbs alone made such a huge difference.
Yeah, so it's definitely not cardio with me. I've only started doing a small amount of cardio and not enough to attribute any improvement to that. I was just assuming maybe it's a cortisol issue and having lowered cortisol. I've had some other things suggested to me that maybe my body was consuming collagen in a highly stressed state with
Right.
metabolic stress. Yeah,
Dehydration. You're
mm,
constantly in a dehydrated state, right? On keto
yeah,
carnivore.
yeah, interesting. Really
Yeah,
fascinating. So I wasn't expecting that either.
I love that. I love that so
hmm
much. So we definitely need to explore the anti-aging effects of reintroducing carbohydrates. And if we do that in combination with cardio, also, like if there's a researcher out there, that would be so amazing to run this study. Um, this is very exciting stuff. I am so happy for us. I am so happy for all of our clients that are coming back to life, getting leaner, healthier than,
Mm.
all the things that we were promised that keto and carnivore could deliver, but fell short on. We're now doing it the right way, treating the root cause. So, thank you so much, Dr. Rachel, for sharing your experience and your success with that. And I am sure there's going to be a lot more to report on in the near future as well, because it seems like the benefits are happening at an accelerated rate. So,
Yes.
really exciting stuff.
Yeah, no, thank you for having me. And yeah, happy to come back in 6 months and report back again. I'm sure there will be further changes. So I'll be
Exciting.
reporting those because I just think it's really important to be transparent with the public because you made a really good point that if we were both influenced by the amount of noise that's out there about the low carb community, then and we're both educated, then what does the everyday person listen to? What can they believe? And so it's really important to me to be transparent just with my own health journey, what I've experienced there, so that other people don't have to run into the same difficulties.
Yes, yes, exactly. And your intelligence allows you to exit, those like silo chambers we were in. I do think it requires a certain level of intelligence to adapt very
Mm.
quickly based on new information. That's actually I love that from Alex Hormozy. He's a super successful entrepreneur. I love his stuff.
Yeah.
And when he said it the first time, it's like, oh my gosh, that makes so much sense. He said the measure of intelligence is how quickly you learn a lesson. If somebody say like they keep having to relearn the same lesson and it takes them forever to finally change their behavior and learn that lesson, like that means they're probably not that very smart, right?
But that's like training dogs, isn't it? Some breeds just you need to they learn it really quickly. Sorry, that's just what came into my head.
It's so true. It's so true.
Parallel.
So yeah, it's like it truly is a testament to your intelligence. Like you learn very fast and you adapt very fast. Like you gotta just learn a lesson once and immediately take action and change. And that's how you get smarter and smarter, or that's an indication that you are smarter. So I'm so happy that we got to chat today, this morning for me. And where can people find you and connect with you? Are you working with people one on one, or how does that work?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm working with people one to one. I'm probably most active on Instagram. So just Dr. Rachel Sarah Brown. But I have a website as well, drrachelsbrown.com. People can look me up there.
Fantastic. Alrighty. Well, there you have it, everybody. Reach out, connect with Dr. Rachel Sarah Brown. She has phenomenal insights. I love your newsletter, by the way. Every time you send one,
Oh,
it's
do
like,
you
oh
read
my, I have
them?
so many emails, but I have to read hers because it's so good. And I love
Oh,
the
thank
way
you.
you really touch upon the things, especially now with the reintroduction of carbohydrates. Like you dig up these scientific articles
Mm.
that are so interesting for people, and you have a way of translating it so everybody can understand it and apply it to their lives. So
Oh,
get
thank
on
you.
her newsletter.
Yes, do.
Yes. Alrighty. Thank you, Dr. Rachel. Thank you,
Thank you.
everybody, for sticking with us. I hope this was enlightening and inspiring and motivating to know that food is fuel. It's not something really that we want to be afraid of and restrict, because actually that's going to lead to a weaker body and brain that can never really even match the pace of aging. You want to build a resilient, strong body and brain that can outpace the rate of aging as much as humanly possible at the moment. And so you will never be able to achieve that when you are eliminating major food groups and fiber, and starving your probiotics and becoming weaker and weaker and less resilient over time. So thank you, everybody, for sticking with us till the end. If you enjoyed this kind of content, make sure you let me know in the comment section below. Give this YouTube video a thumbs up, subscribe, and hit that little notification bell icon so YouTube alerts you every time I post a new video. Thank you, everyone, and I will see you in the next one.